Salutations, nerds. We're watching the MCU and all its glory. That's the Spider-Man thing.
Welcome back to Slate Media, a subsidiary of Slate Media.
Slate Media.
Welcome back to the show. We are calling Phazed out, the show designed to get Nick to hate us, although it hasn't happened yet. It might happen soon. We're not sure.
I don't know. I feel like we're in a fairly good stretch still. We're at the tail end of that stretch, but still a good stretch.
And today we're watching...
Well, I have something special before we get on today. A new segment I like to call, Did Jared Watch Dutch?
No.
Since last we met.
No.
Okay. Anyway, today we're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yay.
Probably one of the better Spider-Man movies.
Maybe.
It's not my favorite overall Spider-Man movie, but it's my favorite of the MCU Spider-Man movies.
Favorite overall? Go.
Spider-Man 2.
Basic.
I know. Very basic, but like Alfred Molina's so good in that movie.
How about you?
So same.
I'm Spider-Man 1.
We know.
Oh, swinging with the stuffed doll across the city.
The hair blowing the wrong way. That's awesome.
But it does have the Green Goblin acting like a little old lady, which is always great.
Well, meet again, Spider-Man. But that's not this movie.
It's not this movie. No, this movie has other great performances.
This movie is a part of the MCU, starring Tom Holland. For me, I always felt a little bit off about it when I watched it. I don't know why. I've always felt that way. I can't really put my finger on it. There's just something I don't jive with about it. I'm not sure what it is, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Mm-hmm. That is my wedding ring. Anyway, go ahead.
This movie is fine. There's parts of it I like. It feels very... What's a good word?
Bland?
Sterile.
Okay.
It's a very clean-looking thing. It doesn't feel as real as I wish it was. Like you and Nick mentioned off camera how this is the most friendly neighborhood Spider-Man we get. Yeah. True. The problem with it is the flip side. The Peter Parker stuff just doesn't feel grounded.
How so?
There's not a ton of it.
There's not. It doesn't feel like there's struggle. It doesn't mean you have to struggle every second of every day, but it's like everyone's just kind of fine. And there's not really much going on. It's like, oh, he and Aunt May live in supposedly a more middle-class thing, but they're fine. There's nothing going on. Oh, everyone at school's just kind of chill, which...
So you want actual Peter Parker, where every turn in his life, something's hitting him in the face, knocking him down.
Now,
you want him struggling. You want him
literally
groveling.
became a spider.
Yeah. Now, whereas big Spider-Man fans want that, I don't need it to be that, but there's like nothing going on in his personal life outside of the connection to Toombs.
I do feel like
it's kind of just he's hanging out.
I do feel like we don't know much about Peter.
We don't know much about
I feel
anyone
like the
except
person that we know in this movie is Toombs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he just goes away.
He's easily the best part of the movie.
I mean, it's Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
See, I think we get a lot into Peter, where we're talking about he's making his own web shooters. You see him working on those throughout class.
Yeah, but we don't see it, though.
You do. You watch him making his own...
a 2-second thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little montage of him making webs and things like that in class. And you get to see him trying to keep everything from Aunt May, his relationship, his want of a relationship with Liz, but not feeling confident enough to do it because he's the nerd in high school. Tony Revolori being my favorite Flash Thompson. He's the smallest Flash Thompson by far, but he's so good in these movies. I love how quick. I also Penis Parker never gets old for me.
I laughed really hard. I forget when he does it, but when he runs by him and like slaps his ass, and just keeps running. I was like, what is that?
Also, like he loves Spider-Man. So I'm gonna kind of talk about all three of these movies because technically the three movies serve as the one origin story for Spider-Man, which is kind of crazy because he kind of gets like three different origin stories throughout the MCU to get his final one where he's actually finally Spider-Man. So I kind of think of these all as like one big movie, and it kind of plays that way too with some events in between.
Yeah.
which is kind of nice because it kind of feels like an actual Spider-Man run where you do have to pick up issue to issue to get to the end of the story.
I will say about this movie, I don't dislike it. I like it as a Spider-Man fan. I just, like I said, it just has something off for me. I can't really pinpoint what that is.
It doesn't feel lived in. That's what I was trying to say.
I get that.
It also very much feels like one of the movies you have to have watched movies before it to understand what's happening in it. I mean, the entire plot is predicated on that, but... And
how does the timeline work?
Oh, it does not.
I was going to ask you that. What is the timeline?
I'm assuming you're talking about the jump from New York 12 years later.
Or 8 years. It was 8 years.
8 years later, sorry.
It was 8 years later, but that happened in 2012 because Endgame tells us it's 2012, but that means this movie takes place in 2020.
A lot of people assume it's just weird multiverse effery, where maybe in...
Cover up.
Yeah, weird stuff. But it really is... John Watts didn't pay attention to when the movies came out and when they were set and just threw a number in there.
Gotcha.
I loved what he's done with the Spider-Man stuff, but that one little mess up with the timeline for a series that's so predicated on the timeline and when events take place really messed things up, especially if you take into account Iron Man 2, when that little kid at the Stark Expo is supposed to be Iron Man, which also Spider-Man, which also doesn't line up with this movie's timeline. So we've got like 3 timelines in this one movie all alone.
I spent a good 10-15 minutes of the movie going like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I actually looked up the official Spider-Man or the MCU timeline.
Oh,
I don't have it up right now, but it was messed up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's very messy.
Yeah. Back down the lived-in thing, and there's going to be comparisons made to the Raimi trilogy, but that one feels lived in. There are a lot of like real people characters that it feels like, whereas this doesn't. It doesn't feel like that.
I feel the opposite. I feel like the Raimi ones feel kind of like a stage show, or like you can tell they're on sound stages, even though they're really not. And most of the scenes they're actually in New York shooting. Every extra feels like an extra in the Raimi-verse. Like watch any extra in any of those movies, and you see some of the weird. There's a whole thing online about the extras in the first movie.
I like pancakes.
Especially the curly hair kid who's also in Community. He's in the Flash Thompson fight scene in the first Raimi movie, and his reactions are pure gold throughout that fight scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when you're in the school, like it feels now like any Netflix movie you watch now, where everything is sterile and every poster is hung perfectly, and every kid is dressed super stylish. So I completely get what you say, especially in the high school stuff.
It doesn't feel real, and it's like superheroes.
I think
not supposed to be, but there's something about that, especially this movie where they're trying to be grounded and smaller.
There's something about the Peter Parker versus Spider-Man balance in the movies. I think it's off balance. I think it's very good. I think Tom Holland is a very good Spider-Man. I do not think he's a great Peter Parker.
I love him as Peter Parker, personally. But I get why people wouldn't. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like I know we're talking about the old Spider-Man movies a lot, but it's kind of hard not to when you've had this many Spider-Man movies put out in the universe.
I mean, to be perfectly fair, coming off of, not really off of the heels of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but coming out of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they had to get it right. Yeah. And I think for the most part they did.
Yeah. But, like, I feel like the Tobey Maguire ones played too much up the nerd aspect of Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man's perceived is not cool in, like, the very early comics, but, like, he's not a super nerd. Like, he has a lot of friends. Pretty much everybody at school likes him outside of his 1 or 2 bullies. He's a pretty, like, regular high school student. And then in those ones, he is the uber nerd that everybody hates and looks down on, and that was never really Peter Parker's character. And then the Andrew Garfield ones, they didn't really know what they wanted.
They went the other way.
He's a weird stalker, but they didn't really know what they wanted him to be. They wouldn't let the bully him, so he had to stick up for the other person he was bullying.
I don't know. It's also weird for me because my version of Peter Parker in my head always has a camera in his hand, and like Tom Holland doesn't do any of that stuff, but he's only like 14 in here, which is where the ones I'm used to are the the 90s Spider-Man.
Yeah,
is
where he's
what
like out
I'm
of
really
high
used
school,
to.
working for the Daily Bugle. Like, they kind of do that here, but they update it for current times with his YouTube channel and recording the Avengers stuff and editing it and stuff like that. It's more, instead of taking still pictures, he's doing little video reports and things like that.
I will say his relationship with Happy is one of my favorite things about the movie.
Watching this movie reminded me that pretty soon we're just going to not see Happy anymore because there's nobody in the MCU for him to... There's no reason. There's no Stark. He doesn't remember Peter Parker.
Unless they do some kind of Gwyneth Paltrow movie.
I don't want a rescue movie. No thanks. The character's boring, and even in the comics.
I mean, they kind of worked in Ironheart. Not well, but...
Yeah, I liked Ironheart, but she didn't need to be in that movie. Like, she kind of needs her own thing.
There's a lot of things that didn't need to be in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. We're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming. Also, let's talk about most confusing trilogy sequence of names ever. I never say all three of them right the first try.
I'm finally at a good place with it. But yeah, it's tough. It's real weird. It's also like the only movies in the MCU that has like this kind of naming convention. Everything else is kind of just their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird that way. I will say it does have the best twist villain of a Marvel ever. Like, I remember the first time when I didn't know.
Not that he's a villain as a twist. The twist is his connection.
That he's Liz's dad.
Yeah,
and there's
like
like
a great moment.
And
like he opens up the door, and I remember just being like,
and on a second watch, there are so many hints to it. There are so many hints throughout the movie, and it's like, man, they really like worked that in well. Mm-hmm. And also, like, this movie has some of the best scenes in the MCU. Like, I think the car scene is one of the top tier scenes.
car scene.
Yeah, where they're driving to prom and he's
okay.
slowly figuring it out, and they're at the stop sign, and yeah.
He figures it out quickly.
Yeah,
and then that green light on his face when he turns and says,
and I like he's got that Michael Keaton like smiling, and then just he's looking up in the mirror and just what does he say? Like, you saved my daughter, and for that I'll let you go this time. Whatever he says, but what is I'll kill you. I'll kill you dead.
And everyone you love too. It's like
everyone you
love Michael Keaton, and
he's so good in this movie.
And to be honest, the music for this movie is wonderful too.
This is Giacchino, right?
Giacchino, yeah.
Pretty sure, yeah. Which his soundtracks are always amazing.
I wish back on Tombs. I wish there's a little more to that conflict. That's not really anything. Yeah. What is Peter's whole reason for being involved in this whole thing? Stealing is wrong, and that's it. And
that's very Spider-Man.
That is peak Spider-Man.
Okay, because it's kind of, I don't know. I was just kind of like, that's it. I feel like there's a whole
Peter's
another
moral
dimension
compass
to it.
is too strong to the point where it almost gets him killed every time.
Yep.
It's like there's something interesting here with Toombs got screwed over by the billionaire, but we don't get any kind of development or conflict with him. It's just, I'm going to do this, and that can be fine, but here it's like there's such a great opportunity to be like break this down, and Peter try to not, once Peter knows, it's like, because there's not enough time in the movie after he figures it out, it's like there's something there to be like, this happened to me, you know, your big you know, pal Stark screwed me over, and that's why I'm doing this. Then Peter is trying to tell him not to, like, I feel like there's something you could do it, but they don't.
Yeah, that's a thing they never really touched on with these movies, is central as Tony Stark is to his, for at least the first two movies. None of the bad guys ever try to convince Peter that Tony Stark's a bad guy. Which, like, why don't they lean into that? Like, Tony Stark has so much in his past that could turn Peter's perspective of him. Play that into the Tony's not returning his calls, Tony's ignoring him, make him paranoid about it.
I thought that Gyllenhaal did that, but no, you're right.
Not really, no.
Not really.
Like, at the very end when he's making his big speech, but he's never trying to convince Peter. He's just naming his plights against Tony.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking that he actually told Peter about it, but he doesn't because it's the fake bar scene. Mm-hmm. The other big moment in the MCU where they just completely pulled the rug out and ruined the movie for the first watching.
Yeah, for some people. For some people, old Fishbowl Head is their favorite villain of Spider-Man.
That was my thing with Toombs as a villain. It's like, I like the performance. I love Michael Keaton.
He's much
I like
better
the character. The motivation's there, but they don't do anything else with it.
It's much better than how the Vulture is typically portrayed.
Just kind of a dummy, even though he's a scientist.
Dumb old man.
Who's robbing banks just because. You mean like 90% of comic villains in the 60s?
It's the second best portrayal of the Vulture. The best being Across the Spider-Verse.
Ah, that's right.
Although I would still love to have seen John Malkovich take on the character, because that would have been the
That would have been fun. That would have been really funny.
Where he's part bird, part.
Yeah.
No, it would have been so weird. No, Malkovich is such a weird actor that it would have been so good.
And in the spirit of talking about all three movies at once, I'm so happy this is a trilogy where Venom is not really mentioned.
Yeah. There's a lot of Venom-y characters in this movie.
It's there, but it's not.
Like, we have, like, Liz Allen, who becomes a Venom at one point, and...
Well, I mean, if you talk about it like that, isn't Scream MJ Venom?
Yeah, like pretty much everybody, if they're a Spider-Man character, they're either a Goblin or a Venom at one point. Like Ned is Hobgoblin.
I was gonna say that's. Do you think that's the route they're gonna go if they are making a Spider-Man 4? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think so. I think my theory is he's gonna start remembering bits and pieces of the Spider-Man stuff, and then maybe something happens to him where he gets the Hobgoblin serum. But in the comics, it turns out he's brainwashed, so they could just go that route, which is kind of the boring route. Just Winter Soldier him.
We don't need another one of those.
But yeah, pretty much anybody in Spider-Man's life ends up being his villain at one point.
Except Aunt May.
Except
Maybe
Aunt May?
maybe even Aunt May.
Well, Aunt May did marry Doc Ock for a while. So like,
I had forgotten all about that, man.
Like, she married his villain, if you want to count it.
Back to what I was saying about the whole balance thing. Like, what I prefer is the Spider-Man, like, on the ground in the city. Like, the interaction between Peter and Mr. Oh no, I can't think of his name.
The bodega owner. I can't think of it either.
Yeah, that I that part of this I like him, him, webbing the dude to his own car, like that type of stuff. I like. I'm not so much a fan of like the high school thing.
Yeah, no, I'm also a person that's like, just get him out of high school. Get him out of high school. Like, yeah, give me a scene or two of him in high school, then get him out. That's one thing I think the Raimi ones did great is by halfway through the first movie, he's graduated high school and off with his life.
Mm-hmm. I think that another thing I think that they had to do, I think we were talking about this with Hammy the other day, is I think that they had to figure out a way to not have to tell his actual origin story, and to do that well, because that's all I remember about the discourse of this is, oh, we're going to see him get bit by a spider again, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, but...
I also like not showing that gives us the fun scene of Ned asking him a million questions about it.
Can I get bit by the spider? No, I don't think I want that. Would it hurt? No, wait, no. Would I get sick?
Technically, that spider did bite a second person, which is one of my favorite spider people, Silk.
Oh,
she's awesome because
I thought she was from a different universe, though.
So yeah, the universe that she exists in, basically, she's bit by the same spider that Peter was bit by. I don't think it's mainline. It might be Ultimate. It might be a different one. But she ends up like just going into hiding because her powers are much stronger than Peter's. And she does spin web like a real spider does.
Well, so does
she makes her own suit out of her web.
So does Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Gross.
And they have the whole love story between them too, right? Because they have this weird connection because they were bit by the whole spider.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that as weird as it sounds?
Not really. Like, just because they're bit by the same spider doesn't mean like they're like related or anything. They just get their powers from the same source.
No. I just mean weird is in the context of him being in a different relationship that's not Mary Jane.
Oh no, he's been in many different relationships.
Well, I know that, but
nah, I don't like him and Mary Jane together.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
I like him and Felicia Hardy together, even though like they kind of like hate each other while also loving each other. That's kind of the whole
Black
Black Cat. It's kind of the whole like same Selena Kyle Batman thing. Like it's a fun back and forth. Sometimes we like each other, sometimes we're fighting each other thing. Whereas Mary Jane's just
all she does is report the truth. Who wants that?
She's just boring a lot of the time.
Isn't there a universe where she's Spider-Woman though?
Probably. Everybody's been there's also like 8 billion Spider-Men, Jake. So probably.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. There's Spider-Rex or whatever they call him.
Yeah.
Tyrannosaurus Spider.
I feel like Spider-Rex would be easier to type.
T-Man.
Spider Truck.
Spider Truck.
I was going to say that scene where Ned finds out is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then, but the one thing that everyone's pointed out in the last, 7 years is, so May opens the door, and he's just standing in his boxers with Ned, and she doesn't once say, why are you in your boxers, or
she
why...
She can tell him to put some clothes on.
Yeah, but it's like, she just kind of goes with it. It's like, oh, I put some clothes on.
Maybe she's just, a very
I
chill, accepting aunt.
I was going to say,
I can say anything else? Nothing? Not even what are you doing?
She probably doesn't want to know.
I feel like that would have been a funnier joke than what we got.
No, I like that scene. I like that she doesn't acknowledge it and kind of just put some clothes on.
So, one of the other arguments I've heard is that, and this is me not saying what I think, just trying to get your opinion on it. One of the other arguments that I had for why it's not the best Spider-Man is that Spider-Man is supposed to be very smart and create all of his own gadgets. If they give him Tony Stark's tech, he doesn't really have to work for any of it.
Yeah. I get why people would be upset with that. But he did make his own web shooters. He made his own original suit. Honestly, outside of web shooters, Spider-Man doesn't need anything. He doesn't need anything but web shooters. I hate when they give him a whole bunch of gadgets and gizmos. And
you mean like the rebound and the web bomb? And
they're fun in the video games. But I like another thing I like about the Raimi ones. It's just him and some web shooters. And
no, he doesn't have web shooters.
Oh, sorry, him and his webs.
See, when I my funny story with that is how like a lot of us grew up watching the Raimi ones, and I caught a clip of one of the animated shows. I don't know which one. Is Spectacular the one in the 90s?
I mean,
that's amazing.
The Amazing
That's
Spider-Man,
amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and there's a clip of he runs out of web, and I was like, how does that happen? It just comes out of him.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea.
There was a whole generation that thought that.
I mean,
they wrote it into the comics for a while.
I was going to say, didn't different Spider-Man in the comics actually make their own web like that?
Yeah. Yeah, but it became Peter Parker's thing after the Raimi one for a little while, but the comic reader's like, nah, just gotta bring back his web cartridges. That's like the one thing that he invents and creates.
Well, because it's like, without that limitation, there's no stakes. So.
Oh yeah, he has performance issues like he does in Spider-Man 2.
And don't forget the Jack Black MTV Music Awards clip where
Yeah.
he wakes up with the spider powers, looks out the window, and shoots web, but not out of his hands.
Yeah.
Out of his butt.
Nope.
No.
The other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty funny.
It's one of the best VMA openings. It's so good.
VMA, yeah.
Yeah.
Not MTV.
Speaking of that, how many would you say of the Spider-Man shows do you think you've watched?
Of the shows?
Yes.
Well, I grew up on Amazing Spider-Man. I watched most of Ultimate Spider-Man.
Did you watch the MTV one?
Yeah, I did with Neil Patrick Harris.
It's so dumb. I love it.
I love that show. Yeah, it's not
so
good. It's
weird.
The art style's wonky and stuff, but I love it.
That was the one where...
I'm so happy someone else has finally seen that.
That was the one where you pulled it up and I'm like, this is wild. It looks like crap.
It
does.
And then that's when Dickie showed up for recording and he walks, he's like, what the hell are you watching? And we're like, it's what was it again? MTV Spider-Man. What's the name of the show? Literally?
It's just Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
It's just Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man. And he's like, well, I gathered that. Or whatever. We're like, no, it's the MTV one. You've never heard of it?
It only had, one season?
I think
Did it get a
had
second
a half a season.
Yeah.
It was like
8 episodes or something?
I could look. It's on Disney Plus.
I love that. That was back in the weird time of MTV because they were showing SpongeBob randomly at midnight sometimes. Like they had all these
I'm
weird
surprised
deals with
Nick
other.
gave them the rights to do that.
They had a lot of weird rights things. Like there would be times where you would switch between MTV and VH1, and the same episode of the same show would just be playing. I was like, "What are you guys? You're competing networks. Why are you playing
Would it be
Flavor
in the
of
same?
Love?"
Would it be in the same spot?
Oh yeah,
That would be really surreal.
Yeah, no, it would be like synced up. It's like, is MTV just playing a broadcast of VH1's channel right now?
It's like on Twitch
I mean,
when
that's
you can stream someone
entirely
else's stream.
Yeah,
potential.
basically. Early Twitch, yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, oh boy. Thinking about that animation.
We get a lot of villains in this movie as well. And you get Shocker.
And Shocker 2.
Shocker 2, which the only villain in this whole movie I don't like is both of those Shockers.
Yeah.
Give him the full suit.
Tinker?
Yeah.
The
I never
Prowler,
realized that
Prowler.
was like supposed to be the Shocker suit until this time when I saw the cross stitching. I was like,
Yep.
why are you just putting
Give him the
whole
giant
thing?
pillow suit.
Yeah,
Oh.
like why not?
Vulture.
Yeah, Vulture.
Oh, and Scorpion, right?
Yeah, Matt Gargan at the end.
It's supposed to be Michael Mando, right? Yep.
So we get our Sinister Six in this movie, kind of.
Yeah. And we haven't seen Michael Mando since.
Nope.
Which is a shame because Michael Mando is wonderful.
And Scorpion is it's one of the more fun Spider-Man villains because he's just kind of all over the place and psychotic. Like he's one of the best villains in Into the Spider-Verse.
That's right. Yeah.
I love his fight with Spider-Ham. It's so great.
Yeah, and Michael Mando's a great actor. Have you seen much of Better Call Saul?
No, a little bit here and there, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing.
He's so good in that show. He didn't get the recognition he deserved for that, and still hasn't gotten the recognition he deserves. Mm-hmm. So when I saw him in this, I was like, hey, maybe this could help him get more recognition with some more bigger roles that didn't really do anything, and they haven't used him.
No. I think they were probably going to use him for Spider-Man 3, but then they decided to go tie everybody together and use all the old villain route instead of bringing any of the ones from this universe in.
I think they probably got told by Marvel we're going to try to push this towards a multiverse thing.
Yeah. I'm assuming his original plan was to use the 5 or 6 people he had from this movie in a Sinister Six movie later on.
Do you think
Probably not the Tinkerer, because the Tinkerer...
Which do you think will get closer to a Sinister Six, the Venom kind of Spider-Man verse, or
we got it in the last... We got the, what is it, the Fatal Five. That's what they call themselves in the comics. We got that in No Way Home.
Didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you just get multiple Spider-Man villains together, you just throw a name and a number at the end of it, and that's their group name.
It is always a good idea when you have movies like this that will get sequels and you introduce characters that will later be villains. Because here we go again. The Raimi movies did that, and that's one of the biggest disappointments is because we never got the fourth one. We didn't get to see Lizard because he's in 2 and 3.
Poor Dylan Baker. He's in 2 and 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've set him up for 2 movies. He's not in them much, but we don't have to introduce him.
And also, like, Dylan Baker is such a phenomenal actor. I would love to see him take on that dual personality role of the Lizard. Like,
even with his weird lips.
Yeah, like, Risa Fons is great. But
is that how you say that?
That's how I've heard it said. I don't know if that's how he says
Risa
it.
Fons.
Yeah, that's how I've always heard it pronounced. Like, he's great, but they didn't really do a ton with the Lizard. They also did some weird stuff with the Lizard in that movie. I'm going to turn everyone into lizards. Ha, ha, ha. It's so weird.
Yeah, so that's one of those what ifs that we never got. Yeah. But here, like you said, they're setting up a bunch, but they've not really capitalized on most of what they set up in this movie because it's they don't, as we've said many times, they don't have this laid out as much as we think they do. They're kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah, well, they're
the main
to
direction.
See what people latch on to and go from there, which is fine to a certain extent. I think that kind of people weren't latching on to things for a while, and they didn't know what to do. And now we have the current MCU state that we're in.
Yeah, but another big thing.
I'm sorry, there's a state to it.
Yeah, where one movie even claims in its trailer that I'm going to save the MCU, and they're really hoping on that movie.
What movie was that?
Deadpool.
Oh.
In the trailer, he claims I'm
Marvel
God.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm Marvel Jesus. I'm here to save it or something like that.
Isn't that just a Deadpool joke, though?
Yeah, but it's also way too right. Way too close to home.
So,
way too close to home is going to be the 4th movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man
Do they bring?
Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man Way Too Safe From Home.
No. Way too close to home.
Way too
Spider-Man
close
gets
to
COVID.
Spider-Man homeless.
Spider-Man Home.
I mean,
We're already kind of there. Wildly, Steve Ditko is credited with a voice in Spider-Man: The New Animated Series.
How many episodes? That was what you were looking up originally.
It's 13.
did he
13.
play himself?
I don't know. It doesn't give a character
'Cause
name, but
in the comics, he plays the one above all, I think, or the creator. Or he's
don't-
basically God. Or he's only shown as a hand who's drawing the books, as far as I know. But he is the most powerful character in the comic universe is Steve Ditko, which is kind of brilliant.
but also wildly
beautiful.
You know how I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about Michael Duncan Clark's Kingpin.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Sorry, yes. Michael Clark Duncan is Kingpin in Spider-Man: The New Animated Series.
Nice. That's like Ultimate Spider-Man, I think it was, brought in Coulson into the show, and it was
What's his name?
Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg.
Also, apparently, someone that looks very related to Ray Romano is a voice in this.
Is it his brother? He has a brother, I think. I don't know if he acts.
His name looks like it's spelled Rhino Romano.
Rhino Romano.
That's
It's R-I-N-O. I don't know how that's how you spell it.
Reno?
Reno.
Probably.
I think it's Reno.
You can get a quick divorce in Reno. Or I don't know about it.
No, that's Rico.
It was Reno.
That's
It was Reno. Yeah, you shuffle off to Buffalo to elope back in the day, and then you go to Reno to get an annulment quickly.
So,
Sorry.
no, you're good.
so Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
So one thing we haven't talked about is the MJ situation.
I like how they did that.
I also like it, but I know a lot of people were not fans when this movie came out.
I don't like the scene where she says her name.
Yeah, that's
The
real
rest
cheesy.
of it, where it's like, most people call me MJ. I was like, we know.
Yeah.
We get it. Sorry.
No, I'm right there with you. 'Cause that's kind of what I was going to say. I was like, they didn't need that
most people
scene.
know, though?
It was
people who
speculated.
matter.
Yeah. Anybody who cared about this stuff was like, oh, she's obviously MJ.
Okay.
Her comment about the Washington Monument always makes me chuckle.
I also love her and Martin Starr's
Yeah.
a little bit back and forth. They have a couple times throughout the movie.
Just the built by slaves. He just looks at the security guards. They just nod. That's good.
Yeah.
That is one
I also
thing
like
that-
her in detention, which is like, you're not supposed to be here. I know.
But we all know who the best character in the whole movie is, right?
Yeah.
It's Hannibal Buress
Yes.
as the coach, where the funniest
And
thing
honestly, it kind of carries through.
yeah, the funniest thing in the whole movie for me is Cap's little PSA thing in gym class where he motions to the gym teacher he's on the wrong side. Oh man, that made me laugh. And then also the detention. Wait, stop, come back. You can't do that. I was like, oh man, more Hannibal, please.
I also really love the after credit scene. The patience
Oh.
when you're waiting for something and it ultimately disappoints you.
Story time.
Story time.
So, first time watching this movie. Again, Spider-Man's my number one character. Plan on getting a tattoo of him very soon. Watching this movie, and my stomach is killing me because I have to pee so bad.
and you're
so
waiting.
bad. And I'm waiting. I'm like, all right, just gotta wait till the end credit scene. As soon as the end credit scene, I can run to the bathroom in the closest auditorium to the bathroom. I'm good. And I'm squirming. Everybody around me is like, just go to the bathroom. Like, nope, gotta see the end credit scene. Like, Infinity War's coming up. It might tie to that. I gotta see this end credit scene. I was like, oh man, there's so much big stuff coming up. Like, what if they're talking about Sinister Six? Like, what's going on? And then when he pops up and basically tells you, like, gotcha. I was everybody around me died laughing. They're losing their minds as I run out to the bathroom. But I almost had my bladder explode waiting for Chris Evans to pop up on that screen.
How many were these?
His cameos that they put him in are just the best.
I
They're
think-
so stupid, and I love
I think
them.
like him and Hemsworth just enjoy being these characters so much. I'm like, yeah, I'll come back. Because even now, like, Evans has been like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I was done, but I mean, I might not be done.
Well, I think maybe they come to find out they're not being as successful as what they were when they were these characters.
I don't know. Knives Out did okay.
That would be
then he did other things.
That would be the primary thing.
Wonder.
They didn't even. Hey man. Wait, Wonder.
Kid with the helmet.
That's not the one I'm thinking. No.
That's Wonder.
The kid with the disfigured face that wears the helmet?
Yeah, isn't that Wonder?
No, I thought that was a different one. That's almost exactly the same.
One. That one I think has Jennifer Garner in it.
I think it's Wonder. There's also Gifted. That was Chris Evans.
Gifted is Chris
That's
Evans.
the one I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, you're right about the movie name, but Gifted is the Chris Evans one. Where,
Who's in one? Oh, is it Owen Wilson in Wonder?
Yeah, I think
maybe,
so.
yeah.
He's really good in that. I did enjoy
it is
that
Owen
movie.
Wilson. Okay.
I related to it on some very obvious levels. Also, it's kind of...
Yeah, so that's Wonder, but it's not Chris Evans. It's Gifted. I keep mixing them up.
That was
there was a lot of those movies.
That was a weird kind of mind meld where I knew what movie he was talking about, but I thought he was saying that Chris Evans was in it, and I was like, no, Chris Evans is not in that, but I don't know what you're talking about.
That's all right. I think I'm thinking of the little tree boy one. Where, like, it's Jennifer Garner, and her husband want a baby. They can't have one, so they plant, like, seeds in the yard, and a child grows from it. Oh, get this, Jared. The child, I can't remember the name of it. The child experiences all 4 seasons and dies at the end because trees die. And that is the message to the kids. And there are so many TikToks of kids coming out of that movie and bawling their eyes out because why did Timothy?
The Odd Life of Timothy Green.
Why did Timothy have to die? Mom, why did they kill Timothy?
Hey, that's an early Lin-Manuel sighting, isn't it?
It is.
Oh,
that movie's so bad. I mean, it's not. There's good parts of it, but overall, it's rough.
But bad.
Anyway, Homecoming.
This is Zendaya.
Rihanna. I don't know.
I think it's Rihanna.
I think it is, but I still say Rihanna. Paul Dano, I've changed.
Yeah. You know what bugs me a little bit about Homecoming?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's much of a criticism as much as me just kind of...
Being annoyed at things?
The title of the movie is Homecoming. So the central part of the movie should be the homecoming dance. We don't really build to it, and then we're there for 5 seconds and we leave. It has like nothing to do with anything.
You could make the argument that it's loosely about Toombs coming home or leaving home or something like that.
I think it was Homecoming, like Spider-Man's finally coming home to Marvel. And then they had to write a movie around that.
That's probably more accurate.
No, the Homecoming storyline is also a comic book storyline. They take elements from a ton of different core storylines. Like Ned Leeds is like 4 different characters. He's Genki Leeds. He's Ned Leeds. He's a little bit Harry Osborn.
Wait. Genki's last name is Leeds?
I think so.
Really?
It might not be. It might be Genki
I gotta look this up.
But they take elements from all the characters, kind of shove it into one, and then use the Ned Leeds name.
I feel like, because again, it's trying to be a high school movie, but it doesn't feel like a high school movie.
It's trying to be a John Hughes movie.
And it's kind of failing.
In parts of it, it excels.
At parts.
Like, the little montages they do, I think, are very John Hughes. I think the scene where Peter and Liz meet each other in the hallway, and it's a long shot of them coming together, and it holds for a little while. That's very John Hughes.
Okay, you might have said this when I was looking up on my phone. Didn't they do a straight up shot from Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
And then he says,
when he's swinging through
and then
the
he
yards,
says, "Great movie."
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a ton of John Hughes references and stuff, but
it just doesn't feel like a not only John Hughes can be John Hughes movies, but it's not even like really feeling like a high school movie either. It's just kind of part of the movie.
It feels very high school to me.
I feel like it would be
like even
attached
down to
more
like,
to
when
the
story.
He's
driving a car for the first time. You get to see that experience. And like the cliques in the high school and him crushing and getting attention and hanging out in gym class. Like, it's very high school to me.
We should stop staring before it gets weird.
Yeah, also like it's a high school movie where the high schoolers look like high schoolers, except for Liz kind of looks way older than everybody just because she's tall. But the high schoolers look like high schoolers. Tony Revolori will always look like a high schooler, in my opinion.
I think the reason it doesn't feel like a high school movie to me is whereas other movies in the past, when you set up a scene in a certain part of high school, you spend time there. This is juggling so much. We don't spend time at like the party. They're at the party for 30 seconds, and then he leaves the party. And then like detention, he's in detention for less than a minute, and he leaves detention. Maybe that's it.
This actually plays into my thing. Jake said, I think it was off camera, that the movie felt long. And I said, I think it could have had 5 more minutes. And that's where I want the 5 minutes, is lingering in those places and those interactions a lot longer.
Yeah.
Getting more back and forth with Flash and Spider-Man in one scene instead of little ones throughout the movie in different scenes. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah. And that's the problem with a lot of modern movies is they're trying to do so much because they need to show more and do more. You're not establishing sense of place and having time spent to develop them. That doesn't mean you have to spend 10 minutes in every location, but we're just flying through everything and nothing sticks. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think that's what was doing it for me. Is like, and that's why it feels like none of the characters except Toombs have development. Because they don't. Yeah. There's like nothing. It's all about, he has to keep running away. Yes. But why do we not have more attachments to high school and to characters? Because it's just he's constantly leaving. It should be take out the leaving frequency and make it when it happens in these moments. Like the party, he's gone right away. It should be they're there for a little while and he starts something and then gets pulled away because it's pulling him out of it. Instead, it's just, they're I'm already getting clowned. I might as well leave. It's like, then why did we even come here?
Well, I think that part of it was
That's not why he left, though.
No, he left because of the explosion.
But it happens really quick. That's what I'm saying.
No. But that is played for the reveal with Toombs, where she's running through all the times that Peter pops into things and is gone immediately and is never seen again. He goes, no, I was there for a while. No, you were there for 2 seconds and gone. I think it's more of a he's never in one place for very long. We don't really see much of Peter very much. I think it was just kind of like to make it more obvious for Toombs. It does kind of play into the Liz is real stupid.
I mean,
because I was watching that scene, I was like, I get the whole thing, nobody ever figures out Peter's Spider-Man, but she's literally telling my dad, hey, this is Spider-Man.
In a school full of very smart people. Everyone is smart. Every single high schooler in this is smart. It kind of takes away the specialness of
It's
Peter.
one of the special high schools. Mm-hmm. Like Miles Morales goes to Visions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense. I'm saying it takes away kind of a part of that Peter Parker character.
That's what it is in the comics, too.
It is?
They're all real smart.
Oh, I hate that then, too.
Flash, kind of.
Flash is the dumbest one.
He's the dumbest one, but he's not dumb. He's just
dumb.
Yeah, he's like a meathead, but he also aces most of his tests, and I guess he's the only one who went to the military. He's more of an action guy than a smarts guy, but they're all real smart. Peter's obviously they're here. He's way up there.
I kind of wish they would have lost is it Quiz Bowl?
Yeah,
because them winning is kind of he didn't even have to be there.
No.
So why does this matter so much that he wasn't there if they lost because he took off? I like that better because it's consequences. There's not a lot of consequences in this movie at all.
There's not supposed to be because the main thrust of it is put towards Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. It's literally like you're watching 2 different characters. Mm-hmm. It's literally like you're watching 2 different movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the whole thing of how does Peter live this double life without anybody realizing who he is, and always trying to keep him separate. But
and the consequence was because of that he figured out
because he was meddling in things that Tony told him not to meddle in. Yeah, he got figured out. He also found out Liz's dad was the Vulture, and all this stuff, all because he did the opposite of what he was told to do.
Also, I think that you think that because of how you just feel about sports in general.
Yeah, it's more of why is this a part of the story if him missing it doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter if he's there or not, they still win.
Just to get him to DC. For a reason for him to find the thing, yeah.
That's
also,
why
why is he afraid of heights when he lives in New York and can climb buildings?
When was he afraid of heights?
In DC.
Washington Monument.
He was afraid of the helicopter blades, wasn't he?
No, he was afraid of the heights.
He's like, this is
there's
very high.
A whole...
Oh, that may have been a moment when I went and got something to drink or something.
I was gonna say there's a whole bit about how, oh man, this is so high. You
Actually,
live in
New
New York
because I missed the monument joke. When you brought it up, I was like, I didn't miss that joke. So I think I was just gone for that little portion of it, either going to the bathroom or grabbing a drink.
So going way back in the conversation, it's Ned Lead Leeds and Genki Lee.
Lee, okay. But yeah, they combine those two characters and Harry all into kind of one little mishmash.
I really want to get a Miles Morales live action in this to be a part of this.
Especially knowing that he's out there. Like, knowing that he exists.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. I kind of wish they hadn't made Donald Glover Prowler or the Prowler-esque character, because I think he would have been a pretty interesting Miles Morales. A little old, but...
Yeah. Aunt May.
Aunt May.
I really like the Peter-Aunt May relationship in this movie. In all three movies, honestly. I like that they're best friends. The other movies, it was always a parental figure, but I like that. Like,
do they ever make reference to Uncle Ben in any of these movies? They do?
Very vaguely of... after all the stuff, that May's been through, I don't want her having to deal with this. Like, the stuff May's been through is losing Uncle Ben.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's lightly touched on, but a lot of people theorize that it's not Uncle Ben, and that it's somebody completely different, and that's why they don't want to name them. I don't know why they would do that, but that's a weird theory that's out there. There's also a theory for a long time that May was gay, and it's like, I don't know, she's like hitting it off with Tony.
That's one of my...
They did hit it off in the 90s?
Yeah. Yeah. And she seemed pretty happy with Happy.
That's true.
That is one of my favorite jokes when he's in the car with him. Like, let's make a video to give you an alibi. Hey, May, how's it going? What you wearing? Something skimpy, I hope. I don't know why that's so funny. It's so
because
stupid.
That was just Robert Downey Jr. talking. They didn't give him that line. You can tell by how he laughs. Like, that's not an Iron Man laugh. That's a Robert Downey Jr. making himself laugh joke.
This isn't a hug. I'm just
isn't that
the
whole
door.
hug thing like a real?
We're not there yet. That's it.
Isn't that like real? Like that was not in the screen. Tom Holland like actually tried to. I don't know if it was hug him or like.
I know there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's very improvised. Like a lot of Revelorious jokes. I think Penis Parker was improvised by him. Yeah, there's a lot of improvisation, and I think it's great. I know Keaton was very to the script. They were all like, yeah, we tried to improvise with Michael a few times, and I don't know, he kind of just stuck to the script. But I don't think he really got it. Yeah, he was Batman, but that was a completely different thing back in the day.
Yeah, he's got that look where he...
Also, this is the third winged superhero that Keaton's played.
Yeah.
Because right? Batman, Birdman, then this.
Yeah.
Batman, Birdman, and Vulture. BBV.
BBV.
Yeah, I love Michael Keaton.
The same.
Is Birdman your favorite Michael Keaton movie?
Yeah. Pretty easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Founder, but...
I was a big Multiplicity guy back in the day.
I did like Multiplicity.
Multiplicity's really good.
That's when he had the curly, like poofy.
Yeah. The old Batman hair.
Sorry. Oh, Michael Keaton.
Yeah. So do you guys hate the Robert Downey Jr. inclusion of all of it?
I don't mind it. I'd rather the whole movie not be him wanting to be an Avenger.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And the whole decision at the end not to be, I like that, but I think the focus of the movie shouldn't be there.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Okay, Nick, as the resident MCU expert.
Sure.
The entire movie, they talk about moving the Avengers facility upstate. Then they go to the Avengers facility upstate that looks like where Ant-Man was.
Different. That was Avengers Campus. They're slightly different buildings. You look at them side by side, you can tell they're different buildings.
They don't look at when you see them.
Well, I think they just added onto it and made it the entire base. It might be the same building, but I think they just added onto it because I think it was still in upstate.
Okay.
So yeah, I think they added because I think there's like a big circular part on the top. That's where Thanos blasts in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's there in the early movies. I could be wrong. But
so it's not them not knowing where to put it in the timeline, and it's supposed to be sooner in the timeline than what we've already seen. It's just a different building.
Yeah, I think they're just moving. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the original plan was supposed to be that Reed Richards is the one that bought the building, and that was going to be the Baxter building.
You mean the tower?
Yeah. Yeah, the one that they sold was going to be bought by Reed Richards, and that was going to become the Baxter building, which makes sense.
Could still do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
When is that Fantastic Four?
It's next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
June 25?
It's got to be. It's the third movie next year, so maybe a little later.
Yeah, maybe that's in November.
That might be like... No, it's not the last one. The Thunderbolts is the last
Thunderbolts is the November one.
So it might be like a July or August release.
We get to see if they get themselves back on track.
What are the 4 next year? So we get Blade? Yeah.
No. Yes. I don't know. That's supposed to be the last one next year right now,
Yeah,
as of recording this.
As of recording this, I think this week they just dropped their second director.
Yeah. We got Captain America Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
We got Thunderbolts. Oh, Thunderbolts is before. Wow, I read that backwards. Fantastic Four and then Blade. Yeah, I read that backwards.
What if Christopher Evans comes back in Captain America Brave New World?
Did you just say Christopher Evans?
Yes, I did.
Because you want old man Evans.
Yeah.
You want Joe Biden, Cap?
That would be so fun.
I don't know. Give Sam a movie to shine. I wouldn't have, if it were me making the decisions, I would not bring Chris Evans back because it shows lack of confidence in the future of your franchise. And especially lack of confidence.
They kind of already showed that.
Not in a way that would. To take your new Captain America's first standalone movie and be like, hey guys, remember old Captain America that you love so much? We're putting him in there. That would, I feel like, in my opinion, it'd be a slap in the face to Sam. Unless he was just there as a mentor role, just advising him. Him putting on the suit at least even once in that movie, I think undercuts Sam being the new Cap. And I don't think Feige would do that.
Okay.
I also don't think the writer would do it because I think it's the same writer from the show.
Captain Falcon?
Malcolm Spellman, I think is his name. I think he's the same writer from the show, and I don't think he wants anything to do with Chris Evans' Captain America.
Homecoming. Kenneth Choi is Principal Morita, and we said is related to, what is his character in First Avenger?
Dum Dum Dugan's the only one of those characters I ever remember the name of, because he's the best character of them.
Jim Morita.
Okay.
Man, we only see him like once or twice in this movie.
And then JB Smoove doesn't come until the second one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I love JB Smoove.
Me too. And he's so good in these movies. Like his character, like the 3 teachers are some of the best side characters in MCU history. Like his whole thing against magic in the third or the second one, and how he just doesn't trust witchcraft. It's so good.
Again, like those fun little side characters. That's like every side character in the Raimi movies, and that's why they feel so much more full.
Yeah, even like the dual flip guy is so classic Spider-Man and so Raimi Spider-Man. It's not Hal Sparks, but
how did you do that? Eat your vegetables. I thought that was the funniest thing as a kid too, and that's right around the Spider-Man singing part. Like, I adored that movie and still do, but just that movie was like the first one's fun. That second one though was like
the lady on the violin.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Spider-Man.
And I love that. We had Bruce Campbell in all those movies too.
I want to watch that movie now.
Isn't he in Multiverse of Madness too?
Yeah, he's the
Yes.
pizza balls guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Uncle Pizza or whatever his name.
That's the only good thing about
Punching
that movie.
himself.
It's not the only good thing. Just every other good thing is undercut by 10 bad things in the same scene.
That's fair.
But there's a lot of good stuff in that movie.
That's
Just not the
fair.
movie. I love Homecoming. I don't know.
I think
movie's-
it's fine.
It's got a special for
It's
me.
got a fun soundtrack too.
Yeah,
That's another thing. Love the soundtrack of this movie.
Not very high school, but meh.
I don't know. It's
What do
all.
we got?
It's a lot of stuff I would have been listening to in high school. At least
Same.
we.
Rolling Stones, Ramones.
Yeah, it's all the stuff I listened to
What
in high
else?
school. Yeah.
What else?
Um.
Because we got Can't Hear Me
honestly,
Knocking, Blitzkrieg Bop.
Yeah, Blitzkrieg Bop is just so stuck in my head because it's the last one you hear in the movie. I also love the rearrangement of the classic Spider-Man theme and adding the extra fun strings behind it and stuff. But Giacchino's fantastic, so kind of had to expect it. He's only directed one movie, right?
Yeah,
The wolf thing, right?
Yeah, Werewolf by Night,
Yeah.
which isn't. It's a special or
Yeah, that's
whatever,
right.
which is okay.
Yeah. I enjoy it, but
Yeah, I
It's
like
not
it.
great.
I like it until the end.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting, and it just becomes CGI Marvel again.
So, like,
most things.
Yeah.
that they do.
That
Like
is the other that is the other thing that I kind of don't like about this. Like, we've gotten to a point where the CGI is good enough to where Spider-Man just is CGI in most parts, and like not from like far away, like with the Raimi trilogy, but like you're in a video game, and I just like it. It was not super noticeable for me until this watch through, and I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. I do. I genuinely get it, but it just doesn't feel the same.
They do get better with it, I think, but this one and Civil War are really rough with it. Like, when he's fighting in the walkway in Civil War, there's a lot of rubbery, you're moving a little too fast, you're coming too quick of a stop stuff. This one also had a lot of it, especially, like, when he's, like, just running through, like, the neighborhood and stuff. Like, it just looks weird.
Yeah, I'm specific.
Not even, like, the big action scenes. Just, like, it just stuff that should be fairly simple to do.
It looks
weird.
It looks the same as Tobey Maguire in the first one, running like this on the rooftop.
Yep.
Woo!
I'm specifically thinking of like crawling on the outside of the boat and looking through the window, like the camera's over his shoulder, and you're like, okay, that's clearly not him. That would have not been a hard scene to fake in there. And
I'm so glad when they're recreating the classic comic scene of everything, the debris on him, he's questioning himself, and he has to like push through, and like he sees the mirror image of like half his face, half the Spider-Man mask. I'm glad they took the mask off for that and didn't have him under a mask, because like I think in the comic it's just like his mask is ripped, but he's got it on still. I'm glad they took it off for it. Like, seeing Tom Holland's face during that added so much more emotional weight to it. Also, it's such a good recreation, because you could have done that so poorly, because that's one of like the most iconic shots from a Spider-Man comic. So to like recreate it almost perfectly, like that could have been a big gamble for Spider-Man fans.
didn't they do something like that in Spider-Man 1 for the Raimi trilogy too? I'm trying to remember. I just watched it earlier this year. Something like that.
It's been a while since I've watched that one, but I think you're right.
I don't think he's like looking in a reflection. I think it's just the camera pointed at him or something.
Yeah.
No, it's the third one where he's does the thing with his hair.
I thought you were talking about when he's hanging upside down and seeing the black. I used to have that poster hanging up where it's the regular suit and he's looking in with the black suit in the reflection.
There was a lot of interesting promotion for that Spider-Man 3, and that did not pan out well.
I love that movie. It's not good, but I love
It's
that.
not good.
Little Topher Grace trying his heart out in that movie.
I'm sorry. I would not find him at all threatening.
I don't know. Apparently, he's kind of a D-bag. So.
D-bag doesn't necessarily mean threatening.
True. Tobey Maguire, though, a little threatening. I saw how he handles paparazzi.
That's right.
And his crazy gambling addiction and all that. Bully Maguire.
Hey, everyone. In every single one of those. I'm going to rub some dirt in your eye. That's what
I hate that he's such like a kind of a garbage dude, and he's like such a big part of my childhood.
Yep.
And even seeing him in the third one, I was like, oh, that's my Spider-Man.
He's like, he's in Spider-Man. Looks like he's in Spider-Man 1. He's in Spider-Man 2. He's in Seabiscuit.
The Cider House
And
rules.
then he's in The Good German.
Brothers.
Great Gatsby.
Pawn Sacrifice. Babylon.
He had a pretty good run there for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, late 90s.
Every now and then he
Late
still
90s,
pops up.
late
There's like,
2000s.
oh, hey, Tobey Maguire's in a thing. But didn't, like, was it Seabiscuit ruin his back or something?
Something like
So he
that.
couldn't do, like, anything action for a while? Because I thought they were going to switch out him for number 2 for Jake Gyllenhaal. But he was able to recover enough to do the movie. Oh, that would have been cool having Gyllenhaal as the actual Spider-Man. He would have been such a good Spider-Man. So did Drake Bell. I know he did the
I don't know.
animated,
He was a pretty good Mysterio.
Jake Gyllenhaal is good in everything. Even if he's in a bad movie like Ambulance, he's phenomenal in it.
You know what movie of his I really like? Source Code.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
It's good.
Is that
it's fun. The ending sucks.
David Bowie's kid?
Yeah, it's Duncan Jones.
Yeah, I thought
that's his debut, I think, isn't it? Nope,
Yeah.
it's the second movie. I always forget Moon is before that. Moon's great.
I
Moon's
really
so
love
good.
Moon. I need to watch
Anything
Moon
with
again.
Sam Rockwell, though, honestly.
Had to do that.
I also just
Hammer
found
dance.
out they brought back Justin Hammer for What If Season 2, so now I have to watch What If Season 2.
Is it Sam Rockwell?
It is Sam Rockwell, baby. Let's go. It gives me hope that he's coming back to the MCU. Probably
Oh,
for
please.
Armor Wars.
Oh,
It would make sense for him to.
Wait, is that going to be a show or
It was a show. Now they're talking about it being a movie because people love Don Cheadle. How could you not? But I think it's probably better suited for a show because then I can get 8 episodes of Sam Rockwell. Kind of like we got like a few episodes of Baron Zemo actually being a decent character in Captain America Winter Soldier instead of whatever.
You talking about Captain Falcon?
Yeah, Captain Falcon.
I still don't like that show that much.
Oh, yeah, it's a bad show, but there are so many things
good.
that I love in it.
Again, I think we've talked about before. I love the idea of Dark Cap. Love it.
And again, they got
And that
sandbagged
shot
by a global pandemic.
Hold on.
That shot of him, I think it's just after he's killed someone where the camera just goes around him and it's like, wow, he knows the weight of what he just did. I like that.
I mean, he does come from acting royalty, so he's probably just got it in his blood.
Yeah.
Papa Disney's favorite actor of all time.
Yep.
Who?
Yeah. Kurt Russell.
Oh.
The last word that Walt Disney wrote before he died was Kurt Russell's name.
That's right.
He was found in his office, pen in hand, and Kurt Russell's name written on a piece of paper. Because he considered him his golden goose, kind of. The early Disney is full of really bad movies that star
The computer wore tennis
young
shoes.
Kurt Russell.
Right? The
Yeah.
computer wore tennis shoes.
But yeah, he's got like 4 or 5, I think, like early Disney films, and Disney was obsessed with him. I get it, it's Kurt Russell.
And then his dad had that independent baseball team. He left Hollywood to start that baseball team. And then that's the team where Big League Chew was invented. And one of the guys who helped invent it was Todd Field, the director, who you know. Tar. That guy. Invented
I need to watch
Big
that
League
movie
Chew.
again, too.
Even though he's not on the back of like the Big Chew, it's like he did help. I probably mentioned that on this podcast.
Situation all over again.
It's just all that connected. It's like, that's funny.
Yeah.
And now Disney owns the MCU.
Disney owns everything.
It's true.
Disney wants to buy the sun.
Are we absolutely certain Disney doesn't own Sony at this point?
I don't know. Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige seem to be very close.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's the only reason we got Tom Holland back in the MCU after they try to take him back.
Are they going to do... I thought that there was rumors about the Venom 3 having Spider-Man in it at some point.
There are rumors.
But have you seen
Don't
it
forget.
doesn't look like he'd fit into that from what I've seen from the trailer.
Of course he wouldn't. You know who would fit into it?
Tobey Maguire.
Nope.
Andrew Garfield. Okay.
That's their play.
Okay. I'd buy that for $1.
That is
I
their
like
play.
I like him as Spider-Man way
He's-
more than I think anybody...
No, he's, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man, like, overall. He is, like, my childhood Spider-Man, like, my vision of Spider-Man. As much as I love the Tom Holland version, and I think Tom Holland is the right version for the MCU, that's Spider-Man to me, no matter how bad that second movie is.
See, and that's the thing, too. It's really only the second
They
movie
shouldn't have cast Dane DeHaan. He's only in bad movies. That man does not know how to pick roles.
Is that Harry?
Yeah, he had one good movie, and he's just been in garbage ever since. You like Valerian? Nobody likes Valerian, Jake.
In the City of a Thousand Planets?
I actually like that movie. But I like the novels when I was a kid.
What was the good movie that he was in?
Chronicle.
Oh.
He's the one that turns in Chronicle. He's the villain, basically.
Oh.
Then he did Valerian. He did Cure for Wellness.
Do you think
Spider-Man 2. Like, a whole bunch of movies that like looked promising, and then just...
Do you think that Harry storyline would have played better if he'd have been in the first movie at all?
Yeah, a little bit. But no. Because it just wasn't handled well. Like, it shows his dad slowly progressing through this disease, and then in 24 hours, Harry goes from Harry to monster. Yeah, randomly.
I like the Power Rangers mask better.
Yeah, honestly, the Sam Raimi one, no matter how terrible the James Franco side of that was still better than the Dane DeHaan version. At least the MCU doesn't have basement of superpower origins. I love that scene of the end credit scene, just him walking by all of the packs for all the villains. Like, this is their origin story. I'm walking through a hall and there's wings, there's octopus arms, there's a spider tail, like all kinds of just random things in glass cases. It's like Batman vs. Superman, where we get our introduction to the Justice League through files on a computer.
Yep.
That they all get their superhero logos from Lex Luthor because he's the one that labeled the files with their logos. Zack Snyder's a bad filmmaker.
I don't know. I've seen Sucker Punch. Case in point.
Let's do an episode on Sucker Punch. I have so much to say.
No, don't make me watch that.
He's putting out a new cut of that.
Why? Who asked for this thing?
It's, I think, his only movie he hasn't put a director's cut out for, so why not?
Are we going to get a Zack Snyder director's cut box set?
Is there one for the Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Gahul?
To be fair, I don't know about Gahul.
Gahul.
Wow, you should see the waveform when you did that.
It's probably also not a Dawn of the Dead director's cut.
Yeah. Last thing. We have seen Vulture since this.
Not where we want to see him.
Oh.
At the end of Morbius.
It's Morbin time.
He gets sent over there, then he lands in full getup. I was like, what is going on? It's Spunk.
The best part about that is Vulture's not inherently a villain. He's a thief. Spider-Man's just in his way. He protects Spider-Man at the end of this movie by saying, I don't know his identity.
Yep.
His scene in Morbius is, guys like us should stick together. Guys like who? Morbius isn't a villain either. He's also a good guy in this universe. But you guys are acting like you're both villains. Also, where does he get his Vulture suit?
Yeah,
in the other universe?
Who knows?
Because he is in prison. Well,
additionally,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's a different universe, it could be a different Vulture.
It's not.
Not.
He mentions how he woke up in a new universe. And he was let out of prison because he wasn't in the logs.
Was Morbius before
Because they
No
give us
Way
way
Home?
too much lore in the end of Morbius.
No, it was after.
Then he shouldn't remember who Peter Parker is at all. Because if it was after...
Oh, isn't it? He gets thrown into it when the thing opens up. So it's before the spell.
Wait, there's that much lore in an after credit scene for Morbius?
No, but you can put that credit scene with the Venom stuff. When Venom came into the universe and it was pulled back out, you had to assume that Vulture was pulled into that universe the same time Venom was, probably pulled back out the same time Venom was.
Yeah, the second
that
Venom movie.
A whole hell of a lot from me.
The second Venom
That's
movie.
That's the things I think about at night, Jake. That's what runs through my mind.
No wonder
the second Venom movie is when he looks at the TV and sees Tom Holland goes, that guy.
Yeah.
And then it was nothing.
Yep. No, he popped in, was at a bar. We're going to get the finale of it. The Venom trailer just released in real life.
I do.
And they go to that bar, but it's Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's Baron Mordo in the MCU.
Yep.
What are we doing, guys? Are we combining these universes or not?
I wouldn't. We're at a point now. I don't think I'd mind Venom in a Spider-Man movie.
Then does that mean Sydney Sweeney is my Spider-Woman? I don't want her to be.
I'd be okay with that.
I wouldn't.
Why?
I don't know. That character is so cool in the comics, and she was so lame in everything in Madam Web was so lame.
I did.
Do not make Dakota Johnson our Madam Web, who is a character who is based off of Stan Lee's wife. Don't make it somebody who hates these movies, who's never seen these movies.
I will say, I started to watch Madam Web earlier this week. I didn't make it through the opening credits before falling asleep.
But you don't know why her mom was in the rainforest studying spiders before she died.
I didn't make it through the opening credits.
They explained that to you 4 times in the movie.
Well, I mean, it is a time loop.
You didn't get to the point where Cassie brings the girls to Ben's house so she can go to Costa Rica and back in 3 hours while being hunted by a crazy guy trying to kill them. And then Ben's just like, oh, you guys stay here. I'm going to go to the hospital. And they just leave them there. Or when Cassie leaves them in the woods and just leaves them there.
I'm guessing this is another movie you love?
I have seen this movie so many times, and it's so bad. I love it so much. Dakota Johnson gives 0 Fs throughout the entire movie. Homecoming.
Yep. I have nothing else.
Hey, let's go. Most creative Marvel credits in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other ones were probably Guardians 2, where they were all dancing along the sides.
Yeah.
I forgot that we don't see Jeff Goldblum for the first time in
Ragnarok.
Yeah. When he popped up in Ragnarok, I was like, oh, yeah, we did see him already. And I don't think a lot of people realized that back then.
Wait, where did we see him?
He was in the Guardians credits, dancing.
The second one.
Yeah, Guardians 2.
See, streaming has ruined me for that because now I can just skip the credits and watch the thing I want to see.
I usually do, but those were fun credits, so I let them roll. And I also knew that had 5 end credit scenes, so there's no real skipping in that one.
We good?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, everyone. That
We're
was our
almost 2
take
episodes
on.
into just Homecoming.
That was our take on. Well, I'm just gonna say Spider-Man at this point. At least our first of 3 takes on Spider-Man here. So before we continue, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. Nick, have you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since we last met?
Nah.
Damn. Well, we'll check in again next week. And until then, if you want to keep walking along with us through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jared, where can they find us?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, the funny TikTok, and X.
Formerly known as Twitter.
And you can listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and hey, if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell, like us and rate us on all those apps, and check out our groovy website.
Shoot bop be doo. That was me attempting to be groovy.
Skibbity?
No, keep going. We'll be here all night.
Next week, I think we have one of the most probably well-renowned ones, at least recent one.
It's a fan favorite.
There we go. That's a good phrase. That's a fan favorite. Very colorful. Now a widely known director, Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
So if you want to continue getting phased out with us, watch that and then come back here next Tuesday, and we'll talk about it. Till then, later.
Bye.
Skibbity Biden.
Skippity Biden.
Oh, Biden.
Check.
Woo! You've seen it twice this year.
I know.
So have I.
I'm going to have seen all 3 of them twice this year.
'Cause I watched all 3 of them earlier this year.
Wait a minute. Wasn't the point of watching all 8 of those
I
together
know.
to watch Spider-Verse?
It upsets me, but oh well.
All right, let's get into this movie so we can talk about fan service.
It didn't have D's.
Bottom.
Are we saying Spider-Man 2 made him smart?
No.